Here I have y equals negative x squared minus 2x plus 3 equals 0. And I want to graph this, and this is a y equals an expression involving an x squared. So I know this will be a parabola. And the x squared term is negative, so I know it's going to be a parabola that opens down. And I'm going to find the x-intercepts. I'm going to find where this curve intercepts the x-axis. And those points we often call the zeros of the parabola or the zeros of the function. And that finding those zeros will make this pretty easy to graph. So I'm going to start by factoring this. And I want to factor it and find the x values that make this equation equal to 0. So let's think of it that way. Let's write negative x squared minus 2x plus 3 equals 0. And if I can find the x values that satisfy this equation, those will be the points I can plot. And I can do this if I can factor this. And expressions like this are usually easier to factor if there's a positive x squared right there. So I'm going to start by factoring out a negative 1. So I'm going to just write negative and then parentheses x squared plus 2x minus 3 equals 0. And you can see that this would be equivalent to the line above, because you could distribute that negative sign and you would get negative x squared minus 2x, or negative x squared, yeah, minus 2x plus 3 equals 0. Okay, now this, what's left right here in parentheses, is pretty easy to factor. So we're going to keep the negative sign, and then this will factor, let's see, that'll be x plus 3 and x minus 1. Okay, and yeah, you can see that if we did a FOIL right there, we'd get an x squared minus x plus 3x would give us the plus 2x and then a minus 3. Okay, written like this, we can very quickly and easily get an x value from each factor. You can see that this first factor, x plus 3, this would equal 0 if x were negative 3, and this factor would equal 0 if x were 1. So those are the zeros. X is negative 3 and x is 1. So my parabola, I know it's opening down because we had a negative x squared up there. So it's going to do something like this. I just need to know how far up it goes in the middle. And so the middle is going to be right along the axis of the parabola. And that's going to occur right between those 2 points. So right here at this x value, this is where the axis of symmetry for the parabola is. And you can see right between those 2 points, that's just the average of those 2 points. That's x equals negative 1. So let's think about what's going on at x equals negative 1. So let's find the y value at x equals negative 1. So go back to the original equation here and put in negative 1 for x. And just be careful with the negative signs. So let's just rewrite this. Let's write y equals negative, and then x is negative 1, so that's negative 1 squared minus 2 times negative 1 plus 3. So this will be negative, that's that negative sign right there, and then this negative sign goes away because negative 1 squared is positive 1. So that's a positive 1 right there with a negative sign out front. So that's negative 1, and this is plus 2 plus 3. And that's easy. That equals 4. So at x equals negative 1, we just calculated y. Y is 4. So we can plot that point right up there. And so this parabola will open down. It will also go through these 2 points, go from this point right here, which we call the vertex. We go over 1 and down 1 on each side. And you can see we go over 2 and down 4, just like we would expect from a parabola. But that's enough. We can then plot in or sketch in the curve. So draw a nice smooth curve through those points. And that's it. Y equals negative x squared minus 2x plus 3, a parabola opening down. Again, what we did was take the given equation or given expression and set it equal to 0 and solved for x. And we solved for x by factoring, although you could have gone from here to here with the quadratic formula as well. But set it equal to 0, solve for x, and that gives you the zeros. And then exactly at the midpoint between the zeros is the axis. And in this case, that was -1. So we calculate the y value at that point. And once we do that, then we have the zeros and the vertex. And those 3 points are typically enough to sketch in the curve.